You hear it everywhere, right? The AI gold rush is on. Everyone's talking about the incredible potential, the game-changing power. But what about the people who are actually supposed to make it all happen? In this explainer, we're going to peel back the layers of hype and look at the real, unspoken tension between all the excitement for AI and the crushing pressure it's putting on our tech leaders.
So let's just ask the tough question right out of the gate. Is your company's mad dash to adopt AI actually destroying the one person you need most to make it work? Well, the evidence is piling up, and for a lot of tech leaders, the answer is a big, uncomfortable yes. Let's get into why.
All right, here's our game plan. We're going to start with what's called the AI expectation trap. Then we'll look at the pressure coming from the C-suite and the wild west of risks popping up from employees. We'll track the money to see why costs are going through the roof. And then, and this is the important part, we'll lay out a clear path to get this right.
First up, let's talk about the heart of the problem. It's this massive, growing gap between what everyone wants AI to do and what our companies are actually ready to handle.
So this is the uncomfortable truth, isn't it? The leadership team sees all the amazing possibilities and, frankly, they want results yesterday. But the thing is, you can't just flip an AI switch. It takes a ton of work to weave this new tech into old systems, old processes, and security rules that were never ever built for this kind of thing.
And man, this quote from Salesforce Research just nails the human cost of that gap. When it says the people responsible, we're talking about CIOs, chief information officers, and their teams. They are standing right where the hype train crashes into reality, and yeah, they are getting buried.
So where is this mountain of duties even coming from? Well, a huge piece of it is the intense pressure coming from the very top of the organization. And it's creating this fundamental conflict between what leadership wants and what the CIO knows is possible. This right here, this slide says it all. You've got leadership with their foot slammed on the accelerator, demanding quick wins, constant innovation, go, go, go. But the CIO, their job is to have a foot on the brake. Why? Because they have to make sure the car doesn't fly off the road. They have to manage for stability, for security, for all kinds of legal compliance, all the stuff that gets a lot harder when you're moving at warp speed. And just look at what's being piled onto their plate. This isn't just about plugging in some new software anymore. All of a sudden, the CIO is expected to be the company's chief AI ethicist, its lead risk manager, and the person who has to prove the ROI on tools that weren't even in the budget. I mean, these are huge company-defining jobs that were never formally given to them, but now it's their problem.
So, as if the pressure from the top wasn't enough, there's another massive threat popping up. And this one isn't coming from the boardroom, it's coming from everywhere else. It's coming from the shadows.
We've got to define this term because it is so important. Shadow AI. It's what happens when your employees, who are just trying to be productive, start using all those free public AI tools to get their work done faster. Think about it. A marketing person using an AI to write some ad copy, or a sales guy using one to summarize his meeting notes. It sounds harmless, right? Except they might be pasting sensitive, confidential company data into a totally unsecured, unapproved platform. And the dangers here are absolutely massive. Every single time an employee does this, you're risking a data leak. For the CIO, it's a total nightmare. They're trying to chase down dozens of tools they don't even know about, fixing broken processes that can't scale, and plugging security holes they never knew existed. It is an impossible game of whack-a-mole.
And this gets to such a critical point. You cannot solve a problem that affects the entire company by just piling more work onto one department. AI governance, deciding what's safe, what's allowed, what's actually effective, that has to be part of the whole company's DNA. It can't just be another item on the IT team's to-do list.
Now, all of this, the chaos, the shadow tools, the security holes, it's not just a strategic headache. It has a real price tag. And that brings us to the other big thing keeping CIOs up at night, the money.
See, the cost of AI is not just the price of a software license. That is the huge mistake so many companies are making. As you can see here, it's a whole ecosystem of expenses that often nobody budgeted for. You need to upgrade your infrastructure to handle the computing power, you need money to train your own models, you've got the software licenses, sure, but then you need new tools to monitor everything, and, this is the one people always forget, you need brand new workflows just to make sure you're compliant. It all adds up, and man, it adds up fast.
And here is the real kicker. While all these costs are piling up, the pressure to get it right from the board, from auditors, even from lawmakers, is getting more and more intense.
But the budget to actually handle all this new work in way too many companies, it's just flat. That is a recipe for absolute disaster.
Okay, so we have painted a pretty intense picture here, a perfect storm of pressure. But this is not a hopeless situation, not at all. In fact, there's a very clear three-step path to get through these challenges, support our tech leaders, and turn all that chaos back into real progress.
The solution really comes down to these three things. You've got to make accountability official, you have to get a handle on all that shadow AI, and you need to close the gap between expectations and reality with some clear communication. Let's break each one down.
First things first, you got to make it official. Stop letting all these AI responsibilities just sort of fall on the CIO. You need to formally update their job description, or maybe even better, create a dedicated Chief AI Officer role. And here is the absolutely crucial part. That title has to come with real authority and, yes, a real budget to match. Otherwise, it's just an empty title, not a real solution.
Okay, next, you have to face that shadow AI problem head-on. That means sitting down and creating a clear rulebook. Define which tools are approved, which ones are banned, and, this is important, explain why. Then you have to do an audit to figure out what your people are actually using right now. It's all about taking back control and creating a safe space for people to innovate.
And finally, step 3 is all about communication. This part is not optional. The C-suite and the CIO have to be in a regular, honest conversation. You need to hold quarterly meetings specifically to get on the same page about AI costs, timelines, and, this is so critical, how you are actually going to measure success. It is the only way to make sure everybody is running in the same direction.
So the big takeaway here is pretty simple and pretty stark. The whole, just let the CIO handle it approach, that's not a strategy. It's a direct path to burning out your best tech talent, opening up massive security risks, and wasting a ton of money on projects that are doomed to fail.
And that really leaves us with one last big question for you to take back to your own organization. AI isn't just another piece of software. It is a fundamental change in how business gets done. So you have to take a hard look in the mirror and ask, is our leadership structure actually ready for what's coming?